Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where in the world you're dialing in from. Thank you for joining us on our bi-weekly series, Envision Voices on LinkedIn. I'm your host, Vikas Bhambri, SVP of Sales over here at Yellow.ai. I'm excited to bring you this show live. I think it's really important that we can take questions, feedback, and allow you to engage one another in the chat. This is all about learning, not just for you, but for me as well. And in every episode, we're going to bring you some of the sharpest minds in AI for customer and employee experience to help you navigate the next few years, regardless of where you are in your adoption curve. This week, we're fortunate to have a friend and our partner, Ben Edwards, Director of CX and AI for Sandler Partners, joining us on the show. Welcome, Ben. Where are you dialing in from on this Thursday?
Oh, Vic, good day. Good to be with you. Thank you, Yellow team, for having me. Yeah, absolutely. Coming in from Silicon Valley today, Northern California, which has been home for most of my life. And yeah, like you said, just really excited about conversation here with you and with the audience.
Excellent. Ben, tell us a little bit about yourself and your role at Sandler Partners.
I've been on both sides. I've been the enterprise operations leader running a contact center with 5,000 agents. And I've also been the strategic selling person for a number of years. And now I'm the director of CX and AI at Sandler Partners. We're one of the largest technology services distributors in the United States. And I help partners help their companies, their customers, cut through complexity. I align their technology needs and projects to what I talk about measurable business outcomes. And, Vic, what I do is I work with a network of about 10,000 sales partners, and we evaluate customers' needs, we shape their solution strategies, and really, we drive that adoption of transformative technology. And most of the time, we're talking about AI, contact center, customer experience technologies. Hey, Vic, I got a quick joke for you.
Sure, go for it.
Hey, why did AI go to therapy?
Why?
Because it couldn't stop overthinking, literally. All right, I know that's terrible. That's terrible. But that was AI writing a joke for me for this right here. So there you go. It's everywhere, isn't it?
It is, and we're going to talk a lot about that. And actually, overthinking, I think might be. I'm sure it'll come up during the course of our conversation. Well, look, I'm excited to have you as the first guest on the show, and I'm going to pre-warn you. At the end of the show, we're going to go through 3 rapid fire questions. So you're going to be the first to experience these rapid fire questions.
Yeah.
People who come on the show afterwards are probably going to watch this episode, and so they'll know what I'm going to ask the same questions every time. But you're going to really be taking rapid fire. So I'm excited. And look, this is the beginning. And aptly, I think the title of this episode is Kicking Off Your AI Journey. And as Simon Sinek always says, let's start with the why. Why should leaders at companies think about kicking off an AI journey?
I think that the winners in this business cycle right now, they're not going to be the most technical. I think they're going to be the businesses that are the most adaptable. And maybe even more important is they're the ones who are going to be most honest about what is and isn't working inside of their business. This isn't chasing AI hype, as you know, as I know. This is about using AI to fix what's not working in your business today. And I get in front of customers a couple times a day, and I like to talk to them and be very empathetic to the problems that they're facing: employee attrition, customer churn. Everybody's facing rising costs due to the supply chain, and company leaders should not be waiting for some massive roadmap to come together for this. You're seeing that AI is resolving pain points right now. it's driving efficiency, it's bringing insight. And another part is that it also just keeps getting better once the company adopts it. So my guidance is that the leaders who start small, the leaders who test fast and iterate, the leaders who are doing that now, they're the ones who, in the next 6 to 18 months, are going to be really accelerating away from their competition.
Yeah, so let's take this. As you said, I'm an exec. I'm at an organization, and I'm thinking about starting my AI journey. Maybe, as you said, I know I've got a problem in a very specific area. Let's take either employee attrition or customer churn or customer satisfaction. Who do I need to get on board internally to get this off the ground? Who do you normally see engaged in this process?
Um, I've got this theme in the last few months and quarters that due to the maturity of AI right now, the speed to implementation, the speed to value, that we need to build the right committee. It used to be that we would get everybody on board. You could have a steering committee of 10, 12, 15 individuals from every part of the business, weighing in on these sorts of things. Again, trying to build that overarching roadmap. But I don't think that's necessary. I think you build the stakeholder pool to just the right size, because what you really want to do first and foremost is that you want to find someone who owns the challenge. You want to find someone who can say yes. You want to find someone who knows about the data and the systems and what they can do with that. So more specifically, the profiles of people that I'm looking for, they are the customer experience operations leaders. I think it's sales. I think you could look maybe a little less often at IT, traditional IT, and more on the business side. Compliance is a good one. They definitely have a lot of needs. I think in general, you keep it small, you keep it fast, you get aligned. But what about from your side? You work with a lot of customers. You've look for champions of AI projects. Are you seeing any shifts in the stakeholders that are needed right now?
Yeah, look, I think at the executive level, right, whether it's a head of customer experience or support or COO, we're obviously in the world we live in, those are kind of some of the primary stakeholders we see, right? But every executive, I think, the CFO, the chief people officer, everybody is trying to figure out how to apply AI
Yeah.
into their world. I mean, you're seeing even now, right? There are certain mandates, you know, LinkedIn, is a great forum where we're seeing all these people say, I've just gotten a mandate in my company that I cannot hire another person in my department until I test out AI to solve the gap, right? So we're seeing kind of a top-down approach. We're seeing it, from certain leaders. We're seeing a bottoms-up approach where employees are bringing their own quote-unquote AI tools to bear. But I think what's I'm also seeing is once an exec in a role or function decides that they want to deploy AI, it's actually not that easy, to get done, particularly if they're going to bring in, third-party solutions. And I think that's where they're interestingly finding out they may want to move fast, but at the end of the day, to your point, they still need to get IT on board, right? Because there's data, there's security, there's compliance. We're seeing more and more the advent of AI councils being formed. So you may be like gung ho, like I'm all in on AI, let's go. But I think you still, as a leader in an organization, have to think about internally, how do I make sure I've got all my I's dotted and my T's crossed before I actually get to implement my program.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. I really do, and it is interesting that we're seeing AI enter into operations from a lot of areas. But like you just said, in our organization, we're getting it from the top down very much. Like, hey, but before we go and hire more, how can we scale teams? How can we scale processes and solutions? So we've got multiple active projects at my business right now, just like you're talking about.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let's take the world of customer experience and employee experience, right? Where you and I spend the vast majority of our time. I think, between the two of us, I would say it's safe to say that we've probably spoken to at least 400 to 500 companies in the last year about their AI journey. I think that's probably a conservative number at best. What are the best ways for folks to figure out the use cases that they want to start with? Let's just kind of zone in on those two areas. Like, what are some of the use cases that they can start thinking about, or how can they even decide which use cases to tackle?
That second part, let's make sure we come back to
Yeah.
that as well. I always suggest to my partners, to the customers that we, those stakeholders, it's start with your frontline folk, your contact center leadership. If we're in that space, your agents, your analysts, your business analysts, the operation folks. You know what? They know today where the friction is. And I think friction is a key way to hone in on impactful use cases that are going to deliver business outcomes. And then when you're looking at these areas of friction, and again, it could be churn, attrition, etc. I think you also want to look for processes that are high volume, repetitive, but also measurable. That's where I think AI is going to make fastest impact to a business unit or the business overall. It goes something like this: like, if you can automate 20% of a task or a call type or of an interaction, you just bought yourself a ton of time back that you can give to your team, to your agents, to that organization to go do more valuable work. So I think it starts right there with honing in on friction. And it's not necessarily unique across the businesses. It really is. It's super key right there. Ask questions internally.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. 20% of a workday is a lot, right? If we gave back to a contact center agent 20% of their workday to go work on more complex inquiries that are coming in from customers, more high value customers, I mean, that's what, roughly an hour and a half. I mean, that's a big chunk of your day, right? you know?
Across my 5,000 agents, oh my gosh, that we're talking millions of dollars
Yeah.
in labor. But even in smaller teams, yeah, 20% is substantial. And so you and I know, and we'll probably talk about, how AI grows in the business, but it's just find that first use case.
Yeah, and like you said, you can start with the front lines, and it's even the simplest question. If I grab my, most tenured contact center agent or my quote unquote best contact center agent, pulled them aside and said, "Hey, what's the one inquiry that you get all the time that you just hate answering?" And I'm sure, like, if I was a retailer, right, it could be anything from, how many times a day I have to answer what our store hours are, right, or the basic, where's my order.
Where's my
Right.
order? That
And
one
now,
right.
not saying that people haven't gone and implemented, websites, IVRs with that information at all, but somehow the consumer still has those questions, and rightfully so, right? It's important. I'm trying to get a gift out to somebody, and I want to know exactly when this thing is going to be delivered. So I'm going to hammer your contact center to get that inquiry. So one quick conversation could probably, like you said, give you 3 use cases that you could go deploy with AI seamlessly, and then go focused on the next tranche and the next tranche, and so on and so forth.
I'd assert this as well, Vic. The customer, the patient, the person on the other end of that interaction, they also want this friction removed as much as we want it removed from the business side. When I call into my airline, when I need to talk to a business or brand, please make those transactional inquiries self-service. Yes, please. I got other things I want to do in my life than check where's my order on my new running shoes.
Yeah. What do you see as, some of the most successful use cases or interesting ones that you've seen implemented with some of the customers that you work with?
Oh, thanks. I love this question. I'm glad, and I talk about this. Like why are people buying AI? Where's the value? And for me, what I'm seeing in the market and in conversations, like you said, we're having these conversations all day. Kind of two key areas, and I'm going to answer from the lens of a contact center leader. Again, somebody maybe in a B2C. It's agent assist and it's high quality self-service. And so some of these successful projects start with agent assist. And let me tell you a little bit about why. Um, it's the cost of compute has come down dramatically. Moore's law. We keep seeing better capabilities, and so that's allowed Yellow to really speed up AI into real time, and that lets me as a contact center leader deploy AI to my agents to resolve while they're in the interaction, while they're on the call, while they're in the chat. I mean, coaching afterwards is great and all. Hey, you could have done this better. Next time, say these words. But instead, real-time agent assist, it's surfacing answers to the agents, telling them what to say, what to do. Here's the knowledge base article. Here's the coupon code to offer to calm them down. It's next best action. Now let's come back a little bit, because why agent assist? You can tie this to business outcomes very easily, Vic. It's aligning to shorter handle time, less time on the call. I love this one, and this is always top priority for a contact center leader. Improved first contact resolution. Nobody wants to talk 2, 3, 4, 5 times. If we can resolve it the first time, boom. Agent assist really lets agents focus on delivering the conversation, not just the clicks. So that one's number one, and number two, and those aren't in any order there, but amazing self-service. And again, with that cost of compute comment, AI is so good. Yellow, your AI is top-notch, industry-leading. And what this one does, I think, for the audience, think of this as more like the virtual agent, the bot that you interact with when you call your brand or business. And well, maybe I'll tell it to you this way, Vic. We had a mid-market healthcare company, 15 locations across a couple of states. What happens on Monday? They get crushed by inbound inquiries, calls, right? I need to reschedule my appointment. And so what we did is that we helped them with a virtual agent to step in there on Mondays. And of course, it'll grow. But now it's handling 25, sometimes 40% of those inbound inquiries, scheduling, rescheduling the scheduling, things like that. And again, we said it before. What does that do? It gives that 20%, or in their case, 40% time back to those agents to do more high value patient interactions.
Right.
I think that those two things are really where companies are adopting AI and finding, I'll even say, easy business value out of AI.
Yeah, I think, if you look at like that healthcare example, right? Scheduling and rescheduling is definitely a big use case we see, and there's tremendous value for it, because especially Monday mornings, you see the flood that comes in, and obviously that takes away the staff from working on other things that might be more critical to the business as you start your week. The other interesting thing is we see, like, look, a lot of, to the credit of everybody that's been doing this a long time, like you and I have, people have implemented different automations or workflows. Whether it's even the simplest thing of sending a text reminder, right? There's no AI involved in that. Just sending a text reminder, or sending them a link to pre-fill their their insurance information before they actually walk into the office. But here's where AI is now up leveling that automation, right? So I send somebody a link to fill out a form. They have a bunch of questions. We take it for granted that everybody knows everything that's on that form. They know where to find their group number of their insurance policy. And this is where you can now use a bot to actually say, oh, by the way, I've sent you this link to fill out, but do you have any questions? And the bot can actually answer some of these questions, right? So I think, a lot of times people are looking at AI as like, it's new automation, but no, look, contact center leaders, customer experience leaders, we've been deploying, automation to improve the customer experience for the last 20, 25 years. It's now how we can even up level that, right? And I look at like, where is my order, right? That you can go to a website for most retailers even 5 years ago, and it would probably tell you where your order was and the status. But now it's able to say, hey, not only can I give you your order, but let me ask you a couple of questions. Are you reaching out because you want to change your delivery time? Do you have a preference of where we deliver that to, in terms of, do you want it on your front door, or would you prefer us to leave it on the side of your house? Kind of some of the things we saw that were specific to the enterprise or the Amazons of the world are now available for any retailer. Even a small business retailer can have this same capability thanks to AI, and really up level the experience they deliver.
Hey, it's going to rain in your neighborhood this afternoon during the forecasted delivery window. I love that. Very, very much. The contact center for a long time has been the heart of efficiency growth and improvement for most businesses. And oftentimes, it gets tagged as being expensive because of the labor that's in there, maybe not being a revenue generation business unit, but has been, is, and continues to be the heart of innovation for many businesses as we drive towards better customer experience. Always continuous improvement.
So that being said, what do you think the biggest gap is to getting started?
I think it's probably aiming too big. We talked about use cases. We talked about how to get started. I think about, Vic, when's the best time to go to the gym to like start working out again? We haven't invented time machines, so the answer isn't yesterday, but the answer is today. So I think, how do you get over the gap? It's get that use case that we talked about, aligned to the business value that we've talked about. If you aim too big, if you build too much, and wait for that perfect plan, I think analysis paralysis sets in, and you're not going to get to work. I feel instead that the companies that win, I think they simplify, they act, they build momentum. So maybe start small, stay focused. Let success pull you forward. And then I'll also add this part. I use a sales partner. Use your provider like Yellow. You guys have just a massive bench, so much experience. So a lot of businesses, just naturally want to go it alone. So keep it small. Bring in some trusted advisors to help you on that journey.
Yeah. Anything else that we can do to set it up for success? Let's say we get the green light. Okay, we're going to get started. Like you said, today's the day. We're going to get going. How can we make sure that this ends up being successful, especially if it's our first attempt, right? Because what we don't want is, we don't want AI to suddenly get a black mark, whether I'm a contact center leader or I'm a HR leader. I don't want it to get a black mark. And, this being a preventive measure to me kind of going full bore and kind of, doing some of the exciting things that I want to do.
Vic, I really like what you said there. We do want success. We really do. And at this juncture, a lot of us just feel anecdotally that AI is inevitable. But also something you said is that most businesses haven't done this before. These are like net new projects. They're not new for you. They're not new for the team at Yellow, who's been doing this for what? Almost a decade. So that's again, great for them. So if you want to set yourself up for success, I think you start with that business outcome. We talked about friction. We talked about alignment. What are you trying to move the needle on? Again, bringing that contact center space back into conversation here. It's wait times. You don't want people to hang up. So make sure that you've got measurable outcomes going, and then picking those use cases that map to the friction. One group that we worked with used Agent Assist for real-time summaries. Record that call, transcribe it. You got the long transcript, summarize it even more. Put it into your CRM. Instead of having your agent type up a bunch of notes, that saves 90 seconds per phone call, etc. So I think that it's about ownership, it's about speed. You and I both hear this a lot, though. Like, do you build or do you buy? How are you helping customers resolve that kind of dilemma or juncture on that decision? When do you prototype? How is it going to scale? That sort of stuff.
Yeah, I would say the dilemma around build versus buy in this kind of time of just where we are in the maturity curve is it really boils down to how much expertise do you have internally? Because yes, there are so many LLMs, and for those of you who may not be familiar with the term, like large language models that are out there, some of the big ones that you probably have heard of are OpenAI and Anthropic, and Meta has one, and Google, etc. You can do a lot with these tools, but do you have the expertise? I think in some ways, working with firms like yours at Sandler, kind of working with third-party software vendors like Yellow and others, it actually allows you to leverage that expertise. Now, could you end up building something down the road? Absolutely. What's to stop you? I think this, kind of the availability of these tools is only going to increase, but the expertise around them is still limited. So where you can almost kind of partner up with people that have that expertise, that have dedicated R&D organizations that all they do is have a deep understanding of AI and how to optimize it for very specific use cases. That's something that you can certainly use to your benefit. So I think, look, the debate around build versus buy, it's an interesting one. And I almost say you don't need to pick. It's a coexistence, and you can kind of pick and choose for the use case you're trying to tackle, right? Is where do what is the best thing for me to do to solve the problem? But anyway, I think we've got a couple minutes left, and it looks like there's been some great conversation in the chat, and I see some comments coming through, but we've got to jump into rapid fire, put Ben on the hot seat. So I've got my rapid fire questions right here. And my first one is going to be, what is the one common misconception about AI that you wish people would stop believing?
Okay. I'm going to say this for now, and I don't think this is going to be the case later, but I don't think AI is coming for our jobs, not just yet. Okay. I think it's coming for the bad processes, the legacy tools, bloat, anything and everything that's holding and building friction between you and your customers. So I don't think AI is going to replace your team right away. I think AI is going to embarrass the organization and your operations team if you're not ready to embrace it.
I love it. So I can sleep at night knowing I still have a job. I like that one. If you could only keep one current AI application for the benefit of humanity, so this obviously is beyond CX and EX, what would it be and why?
All right, the benefit of humanity. This is good. All right. I think that Gen AI can democratize knowledge. I think we can get it to teach and train, I think, and educate. I think it's going to accelerate equity across humanity. There you go. That's a big one. But
that's a big one.
I sure hope that's the case. Hey, real quick, a favorite author of mine actually wrote a science fiction book 1995 called The Diamond Age, Neil Stevenson, and it's a brilliant AI that helps a young child to survive and thrive and so on, and uniquely tailored to every individual. I think Gen AI can be there. I don't think that's science fiction. Maybe it's not quite reality yet, but it's coming.
Yeah. Last one. Looking ahead in just 5 years, not 10, not 20, 5 years, what's one AI development that excites you the most and the one that concerns you the most?
I'll start with the excitement. And I think maybe it's less 5 and more next 24, 36. It's agentic AI. We're not going to have just one big AI that rules and does everything. We're going to have a lot of little agents running around, and agentic AI is going to, string them together. I think about the day that I can then finally have like a companion AI, and I can say to it, hey, find all of the concerts to all the really cool bands that I love, and it'll go look at my Spotify, it'll check my calendar, it'll check my bank account, it'll buy me all the VIP tickets that I want, it'll put all my calendar. Like that's not a chat bot. Like that's an AI that really gets me, that really loves
That's
me.
pretty slick.
Yeah.
I'll sign up for that one. So what's the one that you're concerned about?
I think that it's probably transparency at this point and control. On the good end of things, like businesses get to adopt AI and build in control. I think us as consumers, individuals, members of society, I hope that as that AI is deployed against me and or not against me, but alongside and with that there's more transparency. I definitely want us moving fast, but I sure hope that the brands and the organizations can build with transparency, because you said it earlier, we don't want to lose trust in AI. It's not once in a generation, maybe the biggest thing ever, and I don't want to lose trust in that.
Great. Ben, thanks for being on the hot seat. Appreciate you being the first guest, being the first to take the rapid fire. I'm sure the audience has learned a lot by listening to you over the last 30 minutes. And look, we'd love to have you on again sometime. So thank you so much for dialing in from Northern California, and hope you have a great week and a great weekend.
Thanks, Vic. Thanks, Yellow team. Have a great day, everybody.
Take care.